Good evening, Mr. Steiner. Welcome to Azerbaijan. First of all, it's a great honor for us to see you here in Baku. And thank you for joining the first edition of the UNDP Azerbaijan podcast. Today, we have a couple of questions to you, mainly on COP29 and climate change and environmental issues. So let me start with the first question. As Azerbaijan prepares to host COP29, what role does UNDP see for the country in advancing global efforts towards environmental protection and climate change mitigation?
Well, first of all, when a country invites the world to come to its capital and to host a conference of the parties, it takes on an enormous responsibility, which is to convene the world and with its presidency then also to foster solutions, common ground. And I think when the world will come to COP29 here in Baku, there are very big expectations and big topics such as financing, for which I think Azerbaijan will obviously have to mobilize all its capacities and hopefully skills in diplomacy and negotiation, because the outcome of COP29 will allow the world to either move forward or to move backwards.
Thank you, sir. And second question, given the challenges facing the world on the climate agenda today, how can the outcomes of COP29 in Baku contribute to broader efforts in achieving the climate action goal?
Well, first of all, when we look at what is happening with climate change in our world today, I think the urgency of advancing the pathway of decarbonization, of countries working together to achieve the objectives of the Paris Agreement are self-evident. It is a matter of survival in the long run. Here in Baku, at COP29, the question of how we can invest in one another and invest together in accelerating the pace of action is going to be critical. It is also, in some ways, an interesting context because Azerbaijan is a country that has grown for many decades with fossil fuels as a driver of its economic growth. And yet, Azerbaijan has also begun to embrace that vision of a green transition, of investing in cleaner energy and also green development in the broader sense. In that sense, it's a very real illustration of both the dilemmas and the opportunities that arise. And I think here in Baku at COP29, there is no stepping backwards. We can only move forward, but we can only move forward together.
Thank you, sir. And the last question, with COP29 scheduled to take place in Baku later this year, what opportunities do you see for fostering international cooperation and advancing climate resilience initiatives through this platform?
You know, many people have criticized over the years the Conference of the Parties, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, but the fact of the matter is, when it can forge consensus, when signatories and member states of the United Nations are willing to work together to compromise, then very significant advances are possible. The world is already in many ways behind where it needs to be, but it is also seeing an accelerating pace of action on mitigation, on transitions towards clean energy supplies, but also electric mobility. Those are the opportunities to address climate change, and certainly the platform of a COP is not just the days in which people are together here in Baku, it is all the work that goes into the COP, and then more important, including with some of the initiatives that Azerbaijan will launch here, the advancing of implementation. And implementation is going to be critical. After Azerbaijan, it will be Brazil hosting the COP30, at which all countries will then have to come together and step forward with their nationally determined contributions, their national plans, with higher ambitions. If the financing issues are not addressed at COP29 here in Azerbaijan, it will be very difficult to get the confidence of the world's countries to advance together with higher ambition levels. And that is the only way forward if we want to succeed in still retaining a chance for a 1.5-degree scenario.
I am really grateful, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.